because again, it's a particular of how you see it, but keep in mind that's literal. Okay, so whatever you can consider doesn't matter, even though it's referencing this reality, all right? It's actually what you cannot consider, and that's how you see it, all right? And so that's really the silence of what life is. It's really seeing the silence. So all we can do is provide some kind of reference. And so when we're thinking in terms of completeness and all that, yes, I do use that term. Okay, it's complete in comparison to creation, all right, as creation is not complete, even though it may seem so and considered to be so. No, because it's always cause and effect in a state of flux, going back and forth here and there, whatever. And so it is never complete. And the best part of what I call the real universe is, because it needs a reference, but the isness life is, that's really what it is. And it's just like the air you breathe. There is no completeness, because no matter what you consider, that's not it. Okay, so you have that consideration of saying, okay, so, I consider this the isness, but then again, that's not it. So you have that comparison of what it isn't, even though you've referenced it. It's very interesting how it really is. And this is the best part, and this is the part that, this is the step, the part that is difficult for people, because it takes a lot of persistence and focus and intent to have yourself completely, you decide how you're going to decide yourself. And that's really where it is, with that intent. And then decide to not consider what it is, to where there are no considerations, but you learn to see it as it is. And so again, this is something that, again, we've come through created references. And, just like the spiritual path, just like I was in Eckankar, etc. And I had to go through that. It's like you have to go through high school. And really, that's what it was. And we needed that first part. And Paul just brought it around new, bringing something around new, because that's how the human consciousness is. And it was literal. Everything basically was literal. It had to be. It had to be in the literal sense. He created the God world chart, all that. It's all literal. There's really no such thing. It sounds good, and there can be places here and there, and people can think this or that. That's fine. Each individual goes through their experiences, but really that's not it. And so this is why there's very few, attempting this to really see it, and it's an endlessness, and cannot even consider what the is can supposedly consider. No, because it's endless, and that's the best part. See, creation isn't. It seems to be endless. It seems like, oh, we can just create things. Well, that's all we're doing. We're just creating things and ideas, etc. So our focus here is to create the best references that make sense with something else. And yeah, that comparison is very important, because when things are created here, just like Paul's Eckankar, that was it. It's kind of like anything else created. It's like a matter of fact. It's like, okay, this is it. It's a matter of fact. Okay, and it's like an absolute, which there's no such thing. And this is why the so-called ECKS, or the people that follow that, or the membership or whatever, that's how they see it. And they won't look at anything outside of the ideas that have been created. Same with religion, politics, or whatever, business, technology, whatever. People think that, technology is the ultimate. But actually, these become control factors, and the people involved don't even see that. They really don't even see it. Just like the membership with Joni and Harry, they don't see how they are contributing. The people in the business world, they can be good people, but they don't see how they're contributing to the demise of the planet. The business world is destroying the planet. But the business world, people in the business world, in their little offices and their little cubicles, sitting behind their desks, thinking that, oh, we're doing good. The stock is up. We're making money. They think things are progressing. It's not. It's not, because they don't see how creation works and actually is the cause and effect of it. So actually, the more they create, the worse it's going to get, because everything they're creating is distortion. Unless it goes along with the natural environment here, just like a tree growing, losing its leaves, and regenerates itself with those leaves and those minerals going back and forth, keep circulating, etc., until it becomes aware. That's the whole idea. But now with distortion comes in, where somebody sweeps the leaves away and they start giving the tree, fluoridated water and bad fertilizer, etc., etc. All of a sudden, the distortion comes in, and that cycle is, it's interrupted. And so comparatively to the true reality of life is, and I like explaining this because it's the real point that's being referenced. And this is where, again, people get lost in the references. They will read the books and say, well, Duane is referencing the all is or whatever, and it's like, I love the all is and whatever. But actually, that's not it either. Until you really can see it, okay, until you are really aware to see it. But then that's endless too. And that's the best part. It's endless. And you cannot consider it. And that's where the real awareness opens up to become aware of it, when it stops considering anything at all. There's your real awareness. So this is where we have the personal self, and it considers things. I have that too, and there's a difference. And so, but I've decided to stay here and help others, like Rebazar and all, and some of the other boys, etc. And Paul still has bodies here, whatever. They've decided to help others because this creation bubble is wrapping up, is what it's doing. And now the time is like, okay, we got those last few seconds there, like in the James Bond movie when he's trying to defuse the bomb. He's got so much time left. And again, it depends upon the agreement. And so all of a sudden, the real guides have a lot to do because they like to be busy, okay? Because when I first took the Rod of Power, it took me a while to figure it out, and they were just kind of standing around. It's like, okay, we need something to do. It's like, well, when are you going to do something? Well, it took quite a while and many years to really figure out how to gain the momentum to get something going. And Paul went through this too. It does. It takes many years. And just like in the Tiger's Fang adventure there, he when he came back, he says, I still have not found myself. Yeah, because it takes a while to recognize. He was thinking in terms of God realization, the old idea for self-realization and God realization. These are labels. They're bumper stickers. That's all they are. So you can carry them around and think, well, gee, I have self-realization. Now I'm going for God realization. I'm looking for a store that sells a bumper sticker that says God realization. Who will make that up? So this is the funny journey that we have went through to this present time to really sort it out and to focus. And that's why, again, there's very, very few. But as we keep putting it out there, especially on the real side and through your experiences and others, these other individuals that have caused all the trouble, etc., and just like your experience here, they have a choice. The old habits run deep. They really do. And so to spark the awareness of others, and I take that on too. I confront things and I take it on too. And I'm beaten up by it or whatever, especially physically or whatever. I got aches and pains and dizziness and everything, but I still stay focused because I know I'll get through it or I'll deal with it. Just to provide this because it's real and it helps me as I help others, etc. See this reality, and I like figuring it out. I like the challenge of figuring it out. But many people just take it for granted. They just, this or that. They don't step up. They don't do anything. They just read a little bit to do the NuUU, and then they go watch TV. They don't really have the real intent, and so they're brought along, and it's shown that on the real side, but there's a lot of decisions that have to be made to really see this. But again, the best part is that when you can learn to see the that there is nothing considered with this reality because it's far too real. You cannot consider it. It's far too real. And that's been my experience, to where I just reference it the best that I can, but in no way can you consider this reality. And again, this is where people will get stuck, and they will, just like all the groups and the books I've created, they'll get stuck there too, because they're going to use what they've been taught. We've been raised in a literalized society that controls us and tells us how to think and basically act too. But again, the individual makes the choice. Okay, we make the choice, but we have that basic upbringing where we've been literalized according to the systems that exist. Politics, religion, which are the same thing, business, which is really all the same thing too, technology, that's all in there too, because it's all, if it's earthly or alien or whatever, all these systems that have been created, the schooling system, the educations, whatever, and all these things that people aspire to, getting diplomas and getting better jobs and whatever, everybody's been geared to think in that particular way. So when this comes along, of course, they're going to try and apply that to what is being presented here until they learn to see through it, and even through the real side experiences that they're having, to provide that real awareness. And that shows up on the real side, and it will be shown step by step, and life and the real guides can see it. And so it starts off by your intent, of course, and you decide that. And you decide to clear out these attitudes or whatever to really see it. And so the isness itself, you might say, will grant the individual awareness when they're capable of handling it. That's the difference. So it's just like when you're at the workplace, you start off as the janitor or security or the busboy or something, but to be president of the company and manage all that, that's going to take a while to have that awareness and be able to manage it. It's just like a lot of people, they go buy lotto tickets and they want the big money, and they let them win it. And then they squander it away, and it even ruins their life because they don't have the awareness to handle it. That's the difference. So when you decide, are you going to step up, and are you going to handle it? Are you going to face it? When you have this awareness, and the real guides, they'll test you along the way, etc. But you decide also your focus, to keep that focus. And I've seen it come and go many, many times. And I know, and I've gotten very discouraged myself with what goes on and wanting to accomplish things. My intent's always there, but sometimes the focus would go here and there. I just have to kind of give myself a rest, but I know how to refocus, etc. Because the personal self goes through a lot. It's the beating ground here. This is the hard place to keep that intent going with the real awareness. And so we all have to go through it. But just to let you know that yes, that's the best part. Is that there is not a completeness. Comparatively, it would seem as though, yes, because nothing is complete here. So we'll use that idea, but that is just a reference. So again, there are no absolutes. And is the is all aware of itself? I would say no. And I'm not concerned whether it is or not, because it's endless. It's just an endlessness, which is, it's hard to believe and even consider that it even exists. It's just so real compared to anything we know here. So this is where, time-wise, it takes centuries and eons to actually, you start here right now, but hey, it could be eons. It's not a hop, skip, and a jump, because again, the person is chasing ideas that he thinks are absolutes, and there's no such thing. We've been taught absolutes here. Oh, the government, they rule over everything. And then there are the gods that rule, and they are the absolute, all-knowing, etc. We have been taught and literalized to think in terms of absolutes, and there's really no such thing. There's creation, and then there's this endless unknown, and each person decides if they want to explore that and learn to see it. You cannot figure it out in any way. You have to give up all considerations. And so this is where the so-called spiritual paths, they didn't complete They're positioned to where, they got to the top, you might say, we'll just use top and bottom, of the etheric realm, and then into the deep dark border. They got beyond the mind and into their intuitive part, and into the deep dark border, which they call nirvana or the void. Okay, and their thinking is that, oh, okay, I've conquered creation. I know all life. I know what it is. No, not even close. Creation is not life. Creation is a simulator. We know that now. And so, no, they've just reached a point where they're able to see what's going on in creation according to the mind, etc., and the five bodies, but not seeing what else there is because it's invisible. It's invisible seeing, and it's awareness. So their consideration has brought them to a certain point, those who have done that, and it's valid experience. Everything we've gone through. Whatever it is, doesn't matter. All that matters is that at some point we decide to really become more aware and recognize what's real as opposed to what is not real. And you're not going to find that in the so-called spiritual books. You're going to find just a lot of pretty words put together that sound good for the personal, literalized self. And I was there too with Paul's books. They flow. They're really good. They're fun to read. But that's not it. That just keeps you in your personal self feeling good and happy and whatever. And that's part of it. You have that personal life here, but that's not what's real. When you look at the sun shining and compare it, you need that comparison. What else is there? Are you seeing something else? What is it that you're not seeing? So again, they don't use the comparison aspect. They don't use that reference at all that there's something else. They have defined it as, well, there's a God, there's angels, there's the devil, whatever, all these ideas, okay, all these spiritual groups and whatever, they're the masters, the gurus, the ancient history, whatever, all this stuff formulated, literalized in creation. That's all it is. It's a ball of literal stuff. But while we're here, we utilize it and reference it to see who will wake up and step into that unknown position of seeing something else, more so than even their intuition, because you need that intuition to eventually gain insight to recognize the real awareness. That's how it works. But other than that, just because you're an empath and you have intuition, you can see things or you see the guys or whatever, doesn't mean you see the real side. I've dealt with many psychics and seers. They didn't see it. They're standing right beside Rebus and being with them and helping, whatever, doesn't mean they see it. Yeah, I know, it's amazing. I'm amazed myself. And I've gone through this, and that's not it. But again, each person chooses their position because most of the time, even though they were good seers, their personal life was more important to them. In other words, you take care of your personal life, but you set up your preferences within yourself according to your intent. That's very real. And you do something about that. You just don't set it up. You do something about that in the true sense. And that shows up. Yeah. But in the physical, it can be harder. And we have this personal self. And you have to deal with others and their attitudes too. And it's always not easy. So there's usually friction there because, again, cause and effect is friction and agitation. And this is how it is. So we're at the bottom of the barrel, which is the physical life reality. And we bump into each other. Yes, even with our attitudes without physically bumping into each other. It all becomes funny, doesn't it? So this is why I try to use a little bit of humor, but most people aren't interested because they're only interested in what they can get for themselves, and they don't even see their own attitudes as they walk around bumping into things. But it's whatever. We all make choices. So again, having the focus and then learning to become more aware and learning to see that invisible reality. Yeah, that's the best part. And that shows up on the real side. But in the meantime, yes, Kevin, your experiences are terrific because you add to this to where who in the heck else is doing this or can even consider it, you see? Because you're willing to do it, you're willing to take the risk, you're willing to step up and share it. That's why the boys give you the experience. And everybody There's so many people that want experiences, but will they earn it? Will they step up and really do it? Will they prove themselves? No, not everybody. I had to make a lot of adjustments in my personal self. You know, the boys even told me that, you know, in the beginning, they said, we like you, you're talking to real awareness, but that personal self, we got a lot to deal with that. And yeah, and you know, at the time, you know, I was what I was. And so going through all the process to get here, yeah, it's a whole lot, and still doing it, still making adjustments constantly. I'm not the know-it-all. It's not about that. It's not about me. It's about what life is. And I could tell people about experiences all the time that I have, but I don't do that. I like to hear other people's experiences, and we work off of that because it's all for you. This is all for you. I'm just a reference here, just referencing the real guides and the real universes, because it's about the isness. And when you have that focus, that it's all about that, and you learn to see it, there's your real love affair. Yeah, it's a love affair. It has to be a love affair. And you decide that, and it knows that, just like two people in love, but more so. It's a real awareness love affair is what it is. But you decide that. Each person decides that for themselves. That's what it must become. It's not just that, oh, I know about the is. You know, what is that? You know, it's like the girl down the street. It's like, oh, I know about her. But when you have a relationship and that relationship becomes agreeable, both sides, and recognize it, that's where you become aware. And this is how it is with the is. You decide that. So how is it that you can fall in love with the sun shining? See, more so than anything else. But you decide that, and it's all possible. Everything's possible. And so this is where we each decide as we figure it out. But for the most part, most people want to cling to their personal attitude, which is understandable. And this is what's far out about all life, is that we all can make a choice, and we can all have whatever we want for as long as we want. And just like in your experience, Kevin, where your friend there, he seems to want to stay in his old routines. Well, you know, he can stay there as long as he wants. It's all okay. But what's so cool about how life is and the real guides is they come around and they give people the opportunity on and on and on and on, you see, etc. And the experiences that he's gaining and you've gained, that's made you tough and more determined. It's a determination there that, when applied, becomes a real necessary focus to help you, you know, provide yourself with that intent and to eventually recognize this reality. So it all adds up cool. Okay.